The Chiefs' defense is playing almost as good as their offense in the playoffs so far. They've given up just 215 passing yards per game, a 40% third down conversion rate, and 13.7 points per game. While the task will be much different against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, the Chiefs have used a lot of rotation in their secondary to cause confusion and bait quarterbacks into making mistakes or holding on to the ball. They've also been incredibly aggressive in their blitz packages in the red zone. While Brady isn't as inexperienced as Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen, he has had trouble with locating safeties this year. Because of that, the Chiefs' disguises could play a big part in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs' defense loves to disguise and rotate into an unconventional Tampa 2 coverage. Tampa 2 coverage is the exact same as cover 2, except the linebacker who's normally covering the short middle or vertical seam area now drops deeper and takes the deep middle. That's the typical weak spot of cover 2. That turns the coverage almost into a cover 3 look, with 3 deep defenders and 4 underneath defenders having to cover more space. That stresses the outside linebackers a little bit and forces them to have good range and be able to cover that vacated short middle of the field. However, it provides support on seams and posts run from the tight end or slot positions on offense. It's a way to essentially double that player and provide support for the safeties so that they can help more on the outside. Instead of the linebacker being the pull runner and the deep middle defender, the Chiefs insert Tyrann Mathieu into that role from the depth of the safety position. This puts Mathieu, a dynamic defender, into a robber role where he can roam and impact the middle of the field and attack crossing routes and posts. He's athletic enough to carry any receivers and aggressive enough to make tackles and deliver hits. While Mathieu rotates down to the deep middle hole, Sorensen, who's roaming at the linebacker position, bails deep to replace Mathieu in the deep half. So the Chiefs get to that same Tampa 2 look, but in a different way. Kansas City will also show a one high safety look to get to the same concept. The deep safety bumps over, Mathieu rotates to the middle of the field and looks to locate any crossing route or post, and then Sorensen, who's up at the line of scrimmage, bails back to the deep half. In a 3rd and long situation, which is when Kansas City usually calls this coverage, it forces the offense to check the ball down. You can see that Allen checks to his right and sees Sorensen bailed to his deep half. Recognizing that and knowing the normal soft spot of cover 2, he looks to the middle of the field for the post by Cole Beasley. However, Mathieu has now occupied that window. By now, there's pressure and Beasley has to snap off his route and make his way back to Allen to provide an area to throw to. He catches the ball, but it's short of the first down. When you're rotating guys in the secondary and moving pieces around post-snap, you can have issues with players losing their landmarks and being unable to cover ground quick enough to cover their designated area. This happened on that drive against the Browns at the end of the half that resulted in a touchback. The Chiefs rotate to their Tampa 2 look and Sorensen is bailing to his deep half. Just like Josh Allen did, Baker Mayfield sees a too high look and wants to attack the middle of the field on a seam to his tight end David Njoku. However, I think unintentionally, by looking for that seam and seeing that it's covered, his eyes pull Sorensen into the middle of the field. In his rush to turn his eyes and locate the quarterback, Sorensen loses track of the receiver to the bottom of the screen. The corner carries him, but lets him go as soon as he sees Kareem Hunt in the flats. With Sorensen pulled to the middle of the field, that leaves space on the whole shot to the fade. That's sort of the risk that you run by rotating guys late in the play. You can get out of position and leave windows for the quarterback. The Chiefs defense doesn't always rotate to that specific Tampa 2 look though. Just because a quarterback diagnoses that there is a rotate going on doesn't mean that they know the resulting coverage. Kansas City will rotate into a bunch of different coverages and force quarterbacks to diagnose things post-snap. While the Chiefs run a lot of those coverage rotations, they aren't afraid to blitz either, especially in the red zone. They've used a ton of zero blitzes against the Browns and the Bills these playoffs. Kansas City wants to make quarterbacks make quick decisions in this area of the field. There's less risk of being beat deep, and they now have the back of the end zone to help their secondary out. A zero blitz means that there's no safeties and you're blitzing every defender you have except for the guys that are in man coverage on receivers. There's zero help, so if you get beat, it's over. Part of the blitz design though is that you're always going to be bringing one more guy than the offense can block. That forces the quarterback to get the ball out of their hands quickly. Despite Chris Jones doing his best Albert Haynesworth impression here, the blitz from the Chiefs works exactly how they wanted. The Chiefs have 7 rushers against the Bills' 6 blockers, and it forces Josh Allen to bail backwards and make a low percentage and inaccurate throw downfield. Good quarterbacks can attack zero and make you pay, but your receivers still have to separate, and if you throw underneath, they're going to have to break a tackle with a defender trailing them in man coverage. Kansas City isn't scared to blitz at any spot on the field either. They might not always be zero blitzes, but that doesn't mean they're not willing to take some chances. Usually in the middle of the field, they'll leave one high safety with man coverage underneath. That usually means bringing 6 pass rushers and forcing one-on-one matchups across the offensive line. The Chiefs' defense and Steve Spagnuolo are all about forcing the quarterback into diagnosing coverages post-snap or making quick decisions. He takes risks, but they're calculated and in specific situations. His rotates can force quarterbacks to make mistakes, throw into coverage, or hold the ball and allow pressure to get home. His blitzes force quarterbacks into making quick decisions in the most critical area of the field. He might get burned, or he might burn you, but one of these plays could determine the result of the Super Bowl. Hey guys, make sure to check out the Patreon for weekly game picks, some extra bonus content and video breakdowns every week. There's also early releases for these full breakdowns. You can donate just $1 a month and that gives you access to all of it. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time, I'm Casey Sully and I'll see you on the next film breakdown.